we've been away for a while. I mean, we haven't been away. We've just been really busy with work. So this week has been lots of shopping, which is super fun. We've decided on bathroom tiles. We've got the soundproofing board for the bedroom. We're moving along with the building control to get the chimney breast removed. New doors Monday, IWI measurements Tuesday. So lots has been happening, just not really anything that was filmable. So today, what we're going to do is strip the rest of the lead paint from these walls and kind of as much of the hallway as I can be arsed to do. I'm going to strip off the test paints that we did in the hallway now that we've decided on the more terracotta baked color. And thank you to those who left comments. We appreciate and value your opinions. I also asked every tradesman who's been in the house this week, which of these colors do you prefer? So once the stripper is done, and after we've had some dinner, we'll peel it away. We're not doing anything to these walls. They're gonna have the insulation, but it's just one thing I wanted off my plate. Some of the installers are gonna come help us do the very peak of the ceiling and hallway, which I'm just not safely able to get to. But I thought anything I can do to kind of get to the bits I can is great. And then we will move on to the bedroom. Just gonna do a wee bit of rolling the stripper on. What we did a couple of weeks ago where we didn't put any cling film on it actually seemed to work just fine. So rather than faff around with that, we're just gonna let it kind of dry and peel off on its own. So yeah, let's make a stinky mess, shall we? All right, that's the last of this container. So I'm just gonna leave that there. I've got all of the downstairs that I wanted to get and a decent amount of stairwell. So we'll just see how it goes. I think I've got one more container of the same stripper, and I definitely have one more container of a different stripper, so that hopefully this weekend we can get just a bit more of this hallway bit, because again, none of this will have insulation, so we can at least start prepping it. Although I am gonna dig some of this trunking into the wall, into Andy's office. So still a lot to go, but you know, for a Friday night, we take the fun we can get. Okay, we've let the strippers sit overnight because we just realized it was a bit later than expected last night when we were done. So we're gonna give this scraping. And I think we've decided it's time to paint the bedroom today instead of the living room. So Andy's going to start prepping that so that hopefully by the end of tomorrow, that'll be a nice golden yellow, a bit like the blankie. Well, it at least looks like the coat paint will come off fairly easy. And then we'll see if we can get down to that bottom layer with the lead paint. May have to pull out the other stripper, but yeah, that should be fine, I guess, to get started on. Well, the good news is that the coat's paint is more robust than the flaky crap lead paint that was here. The bad news is the coat's paint is much more robust than the flaky paint that was here. So I will put some ear defenders on in a bit and give it a proper scraping because I can't stand the sound of this thing to get it hopefully back to a point where we can skim over it. It's mostly just about making sure that we've got enough of the wall exposed that the skim will adhere. So yeah, tactical error on my part. Should have covered it with the cling film because it's a lot easier to get off when it's wet and gooey than dry. But hopefully some of the other bits that are just the lead paint, like this bit on the stairs, you can see is quite bubbly, so that should just flake right off. Test my theory. Yeah, that'll be considerably easier to get off. And then just gotta clean up my stairs.
Meanwhile, while Tania's doing that, I'll be tackling the bedroom. We're not going to get paint on it today because you can't see the mess that's currently behind the camera, but we're mostly focused on prepping the walls, which in this case is mostly sorting out this wallpaper by, well, giving it a soak and then scraping it off once it's dried out a bit. No need to get the wallpaper steamer in when it's only a thin strip and that. Then once that's scraped down and stops leaking down the wall, I can get the wallpaper off, fill in the holes where the picture rail was mounted, and then fill in the bits where there isn't plaster or anything on the walls with some skim. And then the other bit that needs doing, spackle the weird skirting boards that you've seen, but flatten those off as well. And then sort of on the white bits here, or there, scrub off some of the adhesive that's come down the wall from attaching to the next gen, and then more particularly, stick some glue up there to stick that up. That's me.
All right, I think that's about as much as scraping is going to do down on this side. If you look on the hallway bit, it didn't come off as well, but I also haven't used the scraper that makes my teeth hurt. So I think what I'm going to do after running outside to do some quick gardening before the light goes is I'm gonna have to come back in just with some hot, possibly soapy water, just to try to wipe down the rest of this, get the residue off. Then we'll put up the vinegary stop stuff working thing. There's probably a better name for it. So one of the fun tasks we have for today is to divide these lilies because I've got someone from one of my neighborhood groups coming to collect some tomorrow. So while we've got a break in the rain, just going to cut these babies back because while they are absolutely beautiful, they are also absolutely overcrowded. So let's go to work.
And that's most of that, apart from just doing a blitz of random walls to add polyfiller, using pretty much the results of that. Highlights include only finding the deep hole polyfiller after I'd filled one of the deep plug socket holes, and then not having any regular polyfiller left for some of the trenches down there and needing to use the deep hole polyfiller in those. So I need a haircut.
Okay. Cheers, meat. Dripping the lead paint took so much longer than expected. So definitely won't forget the cling film again. ended up having to basically just spritz everywhere, and that at least loosened it up enough that I could scrape it off, but not pleasant.
Still covered in skin material. Ah, hello, you join me here at the end of the footage, doing the things I basically said at the start of the video with my bits. Instead of only skimming the section where the wallpaper was, after the somewhat heavy-handed conversation with Tania about not leaving any lumps and holes in the wall, we skimmed most of the wall. Although it was the very thinnest layer I could get away with. This is pulling off my nail polish.
Oh, honey.
Yeah, what do you do?
I'm sorry
Wasn't
that
brilliant
happened.
nail polish, apparently. But yes, that should, after a very brief sanding tomorrow onwards, give a sufficiently smooth wall.
I mean, I know how much you loved having the pink bedroom.
Well, yes, it's a lot more pastel now.
Yes, it was almost too 90s to function, but a very good start. And then we'll sand it down tomorrow and try not to make an absolute disaster zone. I have washed as much of this wall as I think I'm going to get away with. Only the bits where we put the stripper will let me just wipe them off. Everything else requires the scraper of doom. But overall, we've actually managed to be quite accomplished today. This wall is probably about as done as I'm going to get it. I'll just leave anything else to the workmen. This wall is now ready for me to skim tomorrow. Can't wait. So I think on that happy note, we are going to make some brekkie. Brekkie? What's the other one?
Lunch. We're going to make, well, we haven't had lunch yet, so that's more accurate than you were.
It's been a long day. We're going to make some food.
We're going to make midnight munchies.
It's not midnight yet.
It's not fucking breakfast time either, dear.
Yeah. All right. That's going to fizzle a bit.